fantastic having you here, guys.
Yeah! So this week just passed, BBC's Dracula came out and it was fantastic for the first 2 episodes. Even Moffat and Mark Gatiss are exceptionally good at creating just smart, well-paced, entertaining TV. At least for the first 2/3 of it. I like Dracula. It was classic Stevie Moff. It felt good and comforting and familiar, but some might say too familiar. Moffat and Gatiss are great writers, but there's no denying there are certain elements they like to recycle, which is fine. It's not a bad thing, you know. If it ain't broke, write it again. And characters and plot lines are usually different enough that it doesn't impede on kind of the immersion of the story. All writers have their signature style, and Stevie and Marky Mark seem to have found their success. That's why I thought it'd be fun to make a Stephen Moffat bingo card. Sorry Mark, there wasn't enough room in the YouTube title, so you'll just have to sit this one out. Full disclosure, I haven't seen every Stephen Moffat show, so this is mainly based off of Dracula, Sherlock, his time as runner for Doctor Who, and like the 10 minutes of Jekyll I watched in 2009. Also, I'm aware that these things he's probably not the sole writer for, you know, it takes a whole team, especially for the Doctor Who stuff, but you know what, it's just a bit fun, so don't take it so seriously, Sharon. So the next time a Stephen Moffat show is announced, we can all whip out our bingo cards and see who gets the most points. It's only one bingo card, then everyone's gonna have the same points. What is the purpose of this video? Number 1, it's an adaptation of a famous literary work. This is a free space essentially, adapting literature into TV shows is kind of their thing. And they'll no doubt have enough material in a decade's time to fill a whole English curriculum. I'm excited for a generation of kids to believe that Arthur Conan Doyle's password to his phone was I am Sherlock. Bonus point, if a character from the source material is played by someone who you would least expect to be the character from the source material. So an example of this would be like in the Stephen Moffat version of Moby Dick, the kindly old gentleman at the end of episode 1 is going to turn to Captain Ahab and say, "Oh, Richard is my Christian name. Call me Dick. Moby Dick." Everyone's going to be like, "Whoa! The old man's Moby Dick." Number 2, opening credit sequence is a series of flashing images with a drop of blood at the end. I will allow any ambiguous liquid, but there has to be a drop of something. Without the drop, it's just a series of flashing images. And ultimately, isn't life just a series of flashing images? Also, television is literally just a series of flashing images, so it's kind of vague. Moving on. Number 3, the story is told through someone telling the story to someone else. That way, when something wild happens, the screen can freeze and you can hear someone go, wait, you actually did that? And we can cut back and the character can explain their actions in retrospect instead of having a discernible enough personality that their actions speak for themselves. Bonus point, if where the story is being told is a plot twist so that the story within the story... What? Motherfucker. I wrote this and I'm like, this is really hard to say. Bonus point, if Bonus point, if where the story is being told is a big twist and continues where the story within the story ends. Story. Number 4, main character has a superiority complex that is ultimately their downfall. They love to write a character everyone's like, "Oh my god, you're so smart, we love you," and the character's flaw that makes them relatable is they know it. I think with Sherlock it made absolute sense because it's all about him being smart, but when you have a majority of your characters all talking about how they have a god complex, it's kind of like, heaven must be getting pretty crowded with all them gods up there. I'd love for one of his characters to one time have like the same god complex but just be absolutely shit and like maybe stutter over their words a couple of times and like maybe their voice cracks during their big monologue at the end. That'd be fun. Sherlock tells someone that they know they're an alcoholic because they have scratch marks around their phone charging slot and they're like, "Actually, I just have Parkinson's, so thanks for that, Sherlock." Number 5, game talk / cat and mouse / chess. Basically, the protagonist and the antagonist always talk to each other as if it's a big game and they have to defeat each other. That way, at the end, when one of them pulls off their final move to capture them, they can say like, "Game over," or "Checkmate." There's always just a lot of general gamery in the Moff world. Bonus point, if you actually see them play chess. Chess is always kind of used as a metaphor throughout everything because it requires sacrifice and forethought and understanding your opponent. But so does tumbling monkeys, and we never see that used as a metaphor. We always have to see them play chess. It'd be nice for once if instead of chess they were like, "No, we're gonna settle this over a game of buckaroo." You have to keep everything perfectly balanced. Don't rock the boat too much, but at the same time, tip the scales against your opponent. Is that what we're doing, Moby Dick? Keeping balance but never rocking the boat? I guess chess is a lot more sophisticated, but in the future I expect more use of buckaroo as a symbol. Number 6. Main characters are sexually ambiguous. I don't want to have to take you back to the days of John Locke on Tumblr, but Stevie Moff and Marky Mark knew what they were doing when they were keeping them boys no homoing. Dracula, they're a bit more like open with it. It makes sense because he just is drinking anyone's blood and he just does it sexually, I guess. Speaking of gay stuff. Number 7. Gay characters whose only trait is being gay. Bonus point if they are a secret gay couple and their other character trait is that they have to keep their secret love secret. It's common knowledge that Moff has trouble writing good gay character. Hold on, wait a second. Imagine this candle is lit. I appreciate that he tries to write gay characters and kind of play them off nonchalantly, but it's not always done very well. Unless they're a main character, he doesn't really give them enough time to be developed into anything other than... One example I think of is Jenny and Vastra from Doctor Who. Madame Vastra being a... Hello? My parents are back. As I was saying, Jenny and Madame Vastra from Doctor Who. Madame Vastra being the lizard lesbian from the dawn of time who can't stop talking about how she's a lizard lesbian from the dawn of time. Luckily they get a few more episodes to show there's more to them than just they are lovers, but other gays in the Moff world, not so lucky. In episode 2 of Dracula, there's this like secret gay couple and one of them literally kills everyone because he's thirsting so hard for Dracula's vampire dong. And then the other one is like gonna kill himself because he's so upset that his master, the love of his life, has died. But they don't say they're gay because that's problematic. All I will say is if I'm ever in a Moff show and I don't die being dicked down by a modern reinvention of Frankenstein, I will be severely disappointed. Number 8. Jumps in time. This is kind of a reach, especially in Doctor Who, considering it'd be kind of upsetting if they didn't jump in time. I think people would be pissed if throughout the entire Moffat run we just stayed in modern day Ledworth. But there have been multiple occasions where a show set in the past jumps to the future and vice versa, and we see how the kind of technology and themes have changed from the different times to times. Do you know in the modern world vampires have rights? Darn snowflakes, am I right? Number 9. Jumps in genre. Moffat loves a good genre bender. Genre bonder. In Doctor Who Series 7, we saw the first half. Every episode was a different genre. So we had a sci-fi, a western, a romantic, and like a noir crime. Dracula, I feel like that was kind of a similar thing, with each episode being a different horror kind of style. So we had the first episode being a haunted house, we had the second one being like a murder mystery whodunit, and the third one like a Silence of the Lambsy crime thriller. And how can we forget when Sherlock jumped genre from being a modern day detective film to Saw. Number 10. Mark Gatiss self-casting. Didn't get your name in the title, but you made it in somehow, like you always do. Bonus point if he's got something to disguise the fact that it's him, like a accent or a lisp or a prosthetic chin. He is a good actor, but anytime I see him I'm like, there's Marky Mark. You wrote yourself in there, didn't ya? Probably a lot more I could pick up on if I rewatch Sherlock or Doctor Who, but I'm a meek boy. I do not have the 50 spare hours to watch them all again. That's 50 less hours to watch Glee again, and that has gays with character. So that's just 10 of the things I kind of noticed watching the shows. As I said, they're not all bad things, it's just like recurring factors that always seem to pop their heads up. And I wondered, using these tools, would I be able to write a Stephen Moffat and Mark Gatiss drama? I've already given you a taste of what the Moby Dick TV show would look like, but I actually know very little else about Moby Dick, so I can't really continue with that. So instead I present to you Lord of the Flies, Stephen Moffat and Mark Gatiss edition. We open in an interrogation room in a police station. Who walks in? A police officer, played by none other than Mark Gatiss himself. He's wearing a wig and a beard. He'll sit down at a table opposite someone we haven't seen yet, and he'll say something like, I've spoken to the rest of them. They say you were their leader. And then the camera pans to reveal our main character, who's missing an arm or an eye, or something like that, and covered in scars, and we'll find out how he got all these injuries throughout the course of the series. And he'll say, to begin with. The police officer then take out a voice recorder, press play and say, I need you to tell me everything. I need you to take me back to the island, Ralph. Then we zoom into Ralph's eye and the credit sequence begins, and it's lots of blood dropping from spears with like aggressive marimba music over flashing images of pigs. So we're setting it in modern day, and all the kids are going to be older than 16, played by actors older than 24. That way they can have some like tension between them and it won't be weird or creepy. Also, there's going to be some girls, so that when they find each other on the island for the first time, one of them's going to be like holding their phone like, oh my god, there's no signal. How am I going to Instagram now? Because, you know, that's what girls do. Then we meet Jack, who's angry at Ralph because Ralph was chosen leader and he wasn't. Jack and Ralph are going to be intense frenemies. They're going to share a lot of angry eye contact and maybe even like share a hammock at one point, but they're going to talk about how much they detest each other the whole time because they hate each other, but also like, could there be something going on there? You know, enough material to start a Jack/Ralph subcategory on fanfiction.net, but not enough solid evidence that anyone can say that it's canon. As the two tribes they're in charge of kind of get more and more aggressive, they'll have regular meetings on the beach to discuss what's going on, and they'll discuss it over a game of tic-tac-toe on the sand. I don't like this game, says Jack. If you make the first move, you're more likely to win. But Ralph will retort, oh, those who make the first move are often rewarded. You wouldn't know anything about that, would you, Jack? Most of the games will end up in a stalemate as well until the final game before the whole island turns on Ralph. Jack will win because he was like played a risky move because he was trying to win and it actually made him lose the whole thing. You said at our first game, those who make the first move often win. Well, it seems as though those who take the first risk don't have such luck. Other important characters to note is going to be like a meek kind of nerdy girl. We'll call her Vanessa, and towards the end of the second episode she's going to start to lose it a bit and go like a little bit crazy and like sociopathic, and all her friends are going to be like, Vanessa, what are you doing? Who even are you? And she'll say, oh, I am Vanessa Roger and I will survive. Get it? Because Roger is the villain in the book. And you wouldn't expect him to be played by kind of like a nerdy girl, so it'll be like a big plot twist. Wow! The twins, Sam and Eric, in the book, they're not going to be twins, but instead secret gay lovers. And they'll be like arguing all the time and everyone will be like, oh, you're like an old married couple. And one of them will be like, no, we are not. We won't see them do anything gayer than Jack and Ralph, but they're like obviously gay, and Jack and Ralph aren't like obviously gay. But also they're not twins. No, none of that. So season 1 will be the events of the book, but with the twists I've described. Season 2, that's when it gets wild. And everyone decides that the show is really bad. We fast forward like 20 years and we see that Ralph is running for like Mayor of London. He's meeting his political rival for the first time, and who is it? Other than Jack. And who's his running campaign manager? Oh, it's Vanessa Roger. Ralph hasn't seen him since the island. It begins to like trigger some thoughts in him, and then he kind of starts hallucinating things. During a Q&A panel, someone asks him like, oh, what are you going to do about terrorism in London? And he'll say something like, I plan to keep every single person in London safe. And then a voice from the back of the room will go, like you kept me safe? And the camera will pan and it's the ghost of Piggy floating towards it. Second episode, Jack's gonna invite Ralph to his office for like a PR stunt or something like that. But before they get the pictures, they're like, I think we should play a game. And Ralph is like, oh, I hope it's not tic-tac-toe again. Jack's gonna go, oh no, the game's changed. There's not gonna be any stalemates in this one, and taking risks is the only way to win. And he'll whip out a chessboard. The entire episode is them playing chess. At the end, Ralph will win the game of chess and like rub it in Jack's face, but Jack won't actually care that much, and he'll say, you know what I liked about our games on the beach? Anytime it ended, the tide would come in and wash the board clean. At the end of one game, another one begins. And then he like leaves. The final episode would be the election. In the end, Ralph will win and he'll be congratulated by everyone, including Vanessa Roger, who whispers in his ear, remember what happened last time you won an election, Ralph. These words ring in his ears and he starts crying in his office as the ghosts of Simon and Piggy like float around him, calling him a failure. And then Jack will burst in and see him crying. Why are you crying? You won. Jack will say, it's everyone from the island. I can hear them. Why won't they leave me alone? Oh, Ralph, they can't leave you because you can't leave them. You're still on the island. The walls of his office fall down bit by bit to reveal they're back on the island. Jack will hand Ralph a pig head and say, this is where you belong. And Ralph will put it on his head and they'll cut to black and we'll hear the sound of a plane crashing on the beach, taking us all the way back full circle to the beginning of the show. Does it make any sense? Maybe if you stare at it hard enough. But ultimately, isn't that the fun of anything? Just staring at it until it gets interesting. Watching paint dry can be pretty fun if you start racing the paint drops. So all I will say about the show is that it's copywritten, Sam P, and that I'll be self-casting myself as Piggy. So thank you!
You'd think they'd never met a girl ghoul before.
I broke this lighter! I had a whole joke going on. Oh, come on.